That one is always a handful. Um, Stratus from Billy Cobham's Spectrum. We cut that in 1973. This is the bass I played on the track. Um, so I was trying to get this as close as possible to where we were. I'm going to set this rascal down here and tell you about it. When I was in the group The Section, we were managed by Peter Asher and also handled by his partner at the time, Nat Weiss. Now, Nat Weiss was handling Mahavishnu Orchestra, because I remember we were on the road at one point with James Taylor, and Nat called Cooch and I in our rooms. He said, "You guys got to come to my room and hear something. I don't know what it is." And we went to his room and he played us the first test pressing of the first Mahavishnu record, which completely melted our brains. And Cooch and I just looked at him and said, "Play that again." I mean, we could not believe what we were hearing. That band was so unbelievable. Nothing else like it. But because of the relationships we had with Peter and with Nat, we ended up being the opening act for Mahavishnu Orchestra for about 6 weeks. We sat there every night. I spent the first week trying to find one, because they had all these amazing odd time signatures and stuff, which to those guys had become so natural, but we were just groping away at this, trying to figure what the hell are these guys doing. Jerry Goodman was such a monstrous violinist. Billy is probably one of the greatest drummers ever. McLaughlin, there's nobody that played guitar like him. Rick Laird was the perfect bass player for the group, and Jan Hammer brought that whole Eastern European mentality to it. So we were on the road with them. One of the things I remember that was most amazing was we were playing the Mississippi River Festival, and we had played our set, and of course after we played our set, we hung out in the wings and just dug the cats. And at one point, Cobham was taking a drum solo, and he had double kick drums, and he broke his right bass drum pedal during the course of his solo. So he doubled up his left foot and doubled up his left hand, reached down, unscrewed his pedal, took it off while he's soloing, put the new pedal on, and then went right back to it once. And Russ and I looked at each other and went, "Holy shit, now I've seen it all." Well, during the course of that tour, we all became really good friends. So after the tour was over, we were actually in the studio, had just finishing up a Section album, and Billy called me from New York, and he said, "Would you consider coming to New York? I got a solo record deal." I think he had had some different thoughts about different bass players, but he ended up calling me to come and do it. And so I said, "Oh, absolutely, I'd love to." Of course, in the back of my head, I'm going, "What the hell did you just commit to?" Because I've been sitting watching this beast every night and just going, man, that's like stepping out of the frying pan right into the fire. But I went and flew out on a Sunday, because we were in the studio at Electric Ladyland on Monday and Tuesday. Because basically we cut all of our tracks. I think it was 2 days. I don't know if it was 3. I think it was 2. Because almost every track on the album is a first or second take at the most. But I got to the studio. Ken Scott was engineering it, who's one of the greatest engineers ever. And it was an amazing experience to be. But the thing that blew my mind the most was in the late 60s, I was in a band called Wolfgang. And we were handled by a company called Shady Management, which was the most aptly named management company due to what went on with them. But one of the other acts that they had was a band called Zephyr. And Tommy Bolin was the guitarist in Zephyr. And so Tommy and I had spent time on the road in the late 60s together. Well, in 1973, I go walking into Electric Ladyland, and there's Tommy. And at this point, I mean, he had been doing, I think he had been in the James Gang, he had been doing Deep Purple. I was just so surprised, man. My old bud was there. So it was a great hang. And I think one of the things that made this record really stand the test of time and still feels fresh today as it did in 1973 is the fact that Billy and Jan were coming at it kind of like as jazz fusion players, and Tommy and I were coming at it from the direction of rock fusion. And I think that kind of amalgamation really made this a special album. I mean, I'm so proud of this album. I mean, just playing it just now is really weird. I haven't played that in a long time. And it's one of those songs that, man, everybody's got to be really sonically connected together. So once again, sitting here with a loud bass amp next to me and a little speaker playing the track is the antithesis of how I like to think of things. So it's hard for me to like really dig deep into the groove when I'm hearing it in this really off balance. But I'm not going to put headphones on and get into this whole studio thing. I mean, I figured this is loose as a goose and I'm just going to enjoy it. But it was an incredible experience. We spent all our time having a runner go down the street. There was an Orange Julius down the street from the studio, and for some reason we got sucked into strawberry Julius's. So we were like drinking that the whole time. And then when we finished the last session, there was a fabulous Indian restaurant in New York City that's no longer there called Nirvana right on Central Park. And we went there and had dinner afterwards, and then I flew home. And basically, I mean, it was so strange because for years and years, guys would say, oh man, Stratus, Spectrum, all that, man. They would go, Jesus, let's jam. And I'm going, you guys have been gigging this crap in clubs for years. And I only played it once or twice in the studio and never played it again. And it was like every time I would bump into Jeff Beck, he just always comes up to me and goes, Stratus. Because he always does that in his set. He loves that song. And he said that album really kind of changed his head about how he plays and everything. So I just thought I would get this one out there. But it's Jan Hammer on keyboards, Tommy Bolin on guitar, myself, and Billy Cobham. Now, everything on this record is live. There was no fixes. And if you listen, I think the track is Tari and Matador. The beauty of an instrumental album is you can call stuff anything you want. So this is Tari and Matador, but if you listen really closely to it, there's a point at which Jan Hammer and Tommy Bolin are trading licks back and forth. And you hear Tommy go, but what happens is you hear, and he broke his E string in the middle of his solo. Man, did not faze him for a second. He just pulled it, went right on, blew, played the heads and everything. It is not fixed. There was no punches. Nothing was tidied up after the course of this project. It is raw. It is just raw energy, brutal energy. Then there were two other tracks that they did after I left. They were big band tracks, and Ron Carter played upright on them. And if I ever had to share bass duties on a record with somebody, man, I could not ask for anybody more amazing than Ron Carter. In fact, we were just emailing the other day, and he's a remarkable musician and a remarkable presence in the world of music. So that is Stratus. I remember when Billy called me, and it was the 30th anniversary of this album, and he said, you want to go gig it. It's like you don't want to rush into these things. Let's wait 30 years before we ever play this again. But I said I'd love to, and he got Dean Brown because tragically Tommy Bolin died very young. I think he was 28 when he passed away. So there was no Tommy Bolin, and Tommy was one of the greatest guitar players that ever strapped on that instrument. Everything you hear on this record when you dig into this is live. All his solos are live, sitting there. All he had was his old Echoplex with him, and he played an Echoplex as though it was a completely other instrument. But so Dean Brown had the guitar seat, and Gary Husband, who can be a monstrous drummer, was the keyboard player on it. And we did I think it was 16 shows in 18 days or something, all in a van, man. It was just bitching. It was 2003, I think. And when we did that, and I remember playing a gig and I think it was in Buffalo or somewhere up there in New York. And we were doing these clubs, And we're doing 2 sets a night, like 80 minutes a night. We were doing all of Spectrum and doing some stuff from Crosswinds. But I remember sitting there, and there was a guy in the front row watching. He was focused on me, watching me play. And I suddenly realized he had binoculars, and he's watching me like this. I mean, he's only 10 feet away from me. I mean, I'm not sure if he was looking to see if I had, a cuticle or a hair in my nose or something. I mean, it was just, I almost stopped playing because I was just kind of freaking out, going, what is this dude up to? But I look back on this album as one of the greatest times I had in the studio. I'm so proud of this. Billy, it was just the most remarkable group of people. Jan Hammer, Jesus. I mean, that guy, his thumb work on Mini Moog is like nobody could beat it. And Robert Moog was at the studio. So at the very beginning, I just left a tiny bit, but there's a bunch of little sections in this album where you hear like, it's almost like a sequencing thing. It's Billy playing like the first electronic drums. Moog brought them down to the studio and they were experimenting with them. So there was lots of things that went on this thing. But so I had this bass and a little Univox amp that was my first kind of real amp. And I think it had a single 12 in it. And they set me up right in front of Billy. So needless to say, I could not hear shit through this whole thing of what I was doing. But it was great. We went over the heads of each song with Jan just to see, because Tommy couldn't read music and Jan had sketched some things out for me. But basically, this is what we all contributed to it. So that's today. I'll probably get to something otherworldly tomorrow. But I just wanted to get this one done because a lot of people have asked about it. Had I had a better mix, I could have dug into the pocket a little bit deeper on it. But man, it's one of those funny songs. Every time I see anybody, there's lots and lots of covers of it on YouTube. Lots of people have done it. And it seems like they get to about 4 or 6 bars into it and they start adding a lot of stuff to it because it gets boring. But I think the thing that worked for me on this thing was the fact that it never moved. It's all tension based. That lick just keeps on going and going while Billy's playing all around it and the guys are soloing around it. That groove just stays right there. And I really feel that was the thing that made my part on that thing work as good as it did. So I hope everybody's doing okay. Once again, I'm doing my shout out because I think we all have to give a serious shout out every day to the people that are making this world as tolerable an experience as it can be under these really adverse circumstances. All the people, I was out this morning. I had to go to Ace Hardware because I'm building something at home. I had to get parts for that. And I went to Trader Joe's and picked up some things and stuff. And I'm looking at all these people, working these places all masked up and gloved up and behind plexiglass. And I'm just thinking, God bless you guys. It's like they're really putting out every day. And all of the medical staffs, and I'm watching the news and all these people talking about, the horror of it all, that they're working so hard and they're still losing people. And then the frustration of suddenly people are all thinking, well, we've just got to get back to normal. So let's all start gathering again. And man, they're going to be inundating these already overstaffed and overworked and understaffed hospitals with people, because as soon as these big crowds gather, this shit is going to be like pouring gasoline on a fire. I wish it wasn't that way, but it is that way. And there's this encouragement now to get people out there and let's return to normal. There is nothing normal about what is going on right now. If it was normal, I'd be preparing to go to Zurich to do a concert I was supposed to be doing, and doing an album project with an Argentinian artist, and a lot of stuff. A gig we do every year at the Library of Congress for ASCAP, a trip, a tour in Japan, all these things. Everything's shelved right now. It's all maybe going to be rescheduled or just done next year or whenever. But be smart, please. God, don't be stupid about this. I saw people trying to get into Trader Joe's without masks on because we're still in a heavy. And they told them, no, you can't come in. And thank you for that. I mean, why should 95% of people be busting their balls in there to try to keep the place clean and as sanitary as possible? Then some moron comes walking in, like nothing's going on. So I was glad that they told the people, get out of here and come back when you've got covering. So that's enough of my lecturing today. Just thank you so much to everybody who's working so hard to do this. I'm loving this page. I'm going to stay with it. As long as people want to come here and hear tunes, I'll keep digging stuff up. Some stuff I may not get to. I mean, there's a lot of requests for, a bunch of Toto stuff. And Toto stuff was a real handful. And I'll have to see what kind of, time I can really devote. I don't want to completely suck when I play this stuff. So I've got to devote some energy to relearning things that I haven't played in years. And it's not like riding a bike. I don't just get on and pedal down the street. Everything, I don't have a great memory for stuff. I have to work at it. It doesn't come that easy, but I want to do it right. So look at you all. Take good care of yourselves. Maybe I'll wear a different color t-shirt next time. I'll go dig through and see if I have another color blue or another black. I'll wear my dress black t-shirt rather than my casual black t-shirt. So love you guys. You take good care, and I'm still collating pictures. So that book will happen once all this is done and I can get out of the house and meet with the guy who is going to be helping me with my finger book. And that's a whole other discussion. And we've got another song. We're doing another song with the immediate family for a cappella. And Judith Owen we just did SOS, the ABBA tune, on a cappella. And she's got another one that she's going to be sending me and we're going to work on. So we're trying to just keep busy, musically, and keep fresh with this and not sit here and stagnate. So take good care. See you tomorrow. Bye.